Into the Sunshine by Lena Craig of Surrey Hills, 2010. Narrated by Janine Penfold. I sat in the reception area of Mills & Co. Publishers. I chose to wear a stylish navy suit that I had in my wardrobe for quite some time. It was a classical suit that you could dress up or down. Underneath the jacket was a cream-coloured shirt with some designer kitten heels that have never gone out of fashion and endured many different fashion styles. The office was dreary and chilly, even though the sun shone outside. Outdated magazines sat on the coffee table with a catalogue of the current books that Mills & Co. had published. The office was inside an historical building at Circular Quay near the ferries and the square that workers navigated to for eating their lunch and to enjoy some sunlight on their lunch break. The reception space reminded me of my bedroom when I was about 10 years old, when the house was always so quiet. Writing was my escape from being alone in a dreary, cold house. My mother was there, but she rarely came out of her room, and my sister, who was older, had gone to live with a friend's family. I would sit for what seemed like hours doing my homework, focused on only one thing to take away my pain of abandonment and deprivation. No food was on or in the stove. I would find some bread and scrape some spread over it to eat for my dinner. Sometimes when I got home from school, there was some fruit and some different things to eat. But that was a real treat. The secretary, who was sitting behind an overburdened desk, was tapping away on her keyboard. Her phone rings. She stood up and, walking towards me, smiling, said, "Mr. Mills is waiting in his office for you. It's the second door on the right." As I turned towards Mr. Mills' office, I thought, why can't they open the curtains? The hair on my arms started to erupt and anxiety was rising. This is it. The time is here. The office of Mr. Mills was much more modern, and the furnishings were in shades of blue and green. He pointed to a chair that was in a velvet fabric and a metal frame for me to sit in as we both acknowledged each other. The blinds were open slightly, and some sunlight came in through the ageing windows. After Mr. Mills discussed my book with me and how it was going to be promoted, along with terms and conditions, he asked me of my thoughts. My head was whirling. Did I hear right? Mr. Mills was saying that he would organise the contracts for me and that they would be ready by the end of the week, and we shook hands. I gave him the email address of my friend who was a solicitor to view the contracts. My mind was saying, "You did it! You got there!" I knew that it was true, that I finally got a book contract. I had waited so long, and now I am here. As I walked past the secretary, I thanked her with a huge smile on my face. She looked up at me and smiled knowingly. I walked to the lift with all the scenes of my life rushing through my head to get me to this point. There were really tough times as a youngster, growing up with no one to guide me, although my English teacher took the time to explain things to me, and I trusted her. I made a promise to myself that when I had a family, I would create happy memories and that no one in my family would go through anything by themselves, that the family would have strong foundations and that we will overcome anything together as a family. Now we can have a celebration, one that also teaches my grandson to go ahead and do what he wants to achieve, even if it means that you have to stall at times. Outside, waiting for me, was my son and his wife with my grandson. As I walked down the steps to where they were sitting, they turned to look at me with huge smiles on their faces, knowing that I had some great news. My grandson ran up to me for a cuddle and asked if we could go on a ferry ride and have lunch on the beach. I walked out into the full sunshine where my family was waiting for me, knowing that I will never have to sit in the darkness to write again. The sun is shining. The end.